Hi, I am here in our Back Bay Mission parking lot with Carrissa and Venus from Climb CDC over in the Gaston Point neighborhood in Gulfport. And we have a fantastic Homeless Connect happening here, and it hasn't happened since, what? Since before COVID, right?
Yes. I'm happy to be out.
I'm not even sure when that was, 3-4 years ago?
Sure.
Was our last Homeless Connect? Were you with CDC Climb then?
I was, but this is actually our first time being here.
Okay, great. So Carrissa and Venus well, Carissa's a friend of mine. We get to see each other a lot at all sorts of meetings. And Venus, how long have you been with CDC Climb?
About 2 months.
2 months? And you've been with CDC Climb?
3.5 years.
3.5 years. Okay, so I've been here almost 2.5 years. But CDC Climb is a real powerhouse. They work with youth specifically. So do you want to say a little bit about what CDC Climb does?
Absolutely. So Climb CDC, we specifically have the supported services side, and what we do, we have our rapid rehousing and our drop-in center. So that is located over at 5001 Old Pass Road, and what we do there is we work with the homeless youth. And when I speak about homeless with the youth, that's a totally different definition, because that is talking about kids that's couch surfing, or someone that may be living with their mom or uncle, cousin, friend,
and they don't often look homeless, right?
And they don't look homeless. But my thing is, what does homeless look?
Traditionally homeless.
Yes. What is the look? Yeah. What is the look for the homeless?
Yep.
And so those youth come into our drop-in center, and when they're at our drop-in center, which is a CES, a coordinated entry system, they get put into the coordinated entry system, and we do some assessments and see if they need any type of supported services. And if it's housing, the housing aspect, Venus referred them to me, and I'll put them in housing. And if they need anything else like education assistance, we have our Climb Academy. And so the Climb Academy is a place where you can come get your high school diploma, anyone between the ages of 16 and on up. There's no cap on that, and that's pretty much what we have over at Climb CDC.
Oh, that's awesome. And Venus, what's your responsibility there?
So I am the program manager for the drop-in center, and so I'll provide resources or refer them out for employment or educational services.
Okay. What do you think? So you mentioned youth, and I think you know that I ran a shelter for homeless way throwaway youth back in Milwaukee. Didn't know that?
No.
Yeah, the street outreach program. It was one of my favorite jobs, being the director there outside of what I do here. Because here I feel like it wraps everything in one place. But what was interesting to me, right? And so these were at-risk youth. These were mostly black youth from the inner city, and our shelter was closer to Lake Michigan. And the thing that really was impactful to me was to realize that most of these youth were out in the burbs, had not ever been to the water, they hadn't seen the beach because the resources weren't there, the family didn't feel important, or the foster family. And so a lot of the youth we got were from foster homes, or ran away from foster homes, group homes, a variety of settings, or their home of birth, right? And so many of them don't look like what we typically stereotype as a homeless person, right? But what do you think some of the great risks are for these youth here on the Gulf Coast? What are some of the biggest risks and some of the challenges you've seen?
Some of the challenges, the employment. There's a challenge with the employment. We have barriers with our transportation because our transportation it's not expanded from Long Beach all the way up to Moss Point, so it's not from the point to the bay. So that's one of the challenges they deal with. Human trafficking is big here on the coast. So that's another another thing that's going on.
Why do you say human trafficking is big on the coast? I think that'd be interesting for those watching this too.
Okay, because human trafficking is big on the coast. I mean, it's a getaway. We have I-10, which is a very, very, very important interstate, and you can go one end to the other. And so I think that's an easy getaway. That's an easy getaway. And the population here on the coast is small, but it's huge. And so we never know who's in human trafficking. So that's why I focused in on that. And Venus did used to work with a little bit of human trafficking.
Yeah.
She and I worked together. We had a case.
Wow.
Yeah. And some human trafficking cases also happen within the home as well. Some of the family members can also be traffickers for the youth.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
And that was one of the things we did speak about, because you were telling me at one point in time the family members are the number one.
Yes. It's usually what happens.
The uncle and the family that's trafficking in these and
the
stuff.
father, the mother.
It's happened in my family, my extended family. So So I hear you on that, right? And that was one of the things actually back in Milwaukee we did also. We were connected with human trafficking organizations that were working with human trafficking. As many of the youth we worked with are escaping that way. But if that's all they know, you know, it's kind of like when there's domestic violence, we know that the individual who's abused oftentimes go back to the abuser because it's what they know, it's what they think.
It's the norm.
It's the norm, right?
It's the norm.
And so that's really, yeah, I value folks for doing this work with youth because it's a population I think doesn't get enough.
Yeah, and I always tell people, you know, I really love like working with the youth, but what people have to understand the importance of meeting them where they are, and you have to be relatable. Don't come to them reading off a piece of paper because you know they're going to turn their backs and they're not going to tell you the truth. They're not going to feel open with you. So you have to be very relatable and open with the youth. They're popcorn children. That generation, they want what they want right then and there. So meet them where they are and just help them out.
No, that's beautiful. And I think that's a great message for anybody that's watching this. So thank you for taking the time to watch us, and thank you, gosh, for the work that you both do in this world because it's the right thing to do, right?
Yes.
We're just trying to make a change and trying to create a more just and equitable world for all. So thank you, and thank you for watching. If you have any more questions about CDC Climb, if you happen to be on the coast and want to get connected, we can do that for you. Or you can just stop by their facility. And we're just grateful for the partnerships that we have here on the coast. So
Thank you for
joining us.
Thank you.
Have a great day, folks.
Thank you all.